Okay guys, so I'm making a short video, not so short, but I'm making a video basically on your guys' modifiers. So if you get your book and you go back to your appendix A, I'm going to go through the modifiers that we use quite a bit. So that's what I'll be doing. So starting with modifier 22, I know I've been over this one before. It's increased procedural service. So that just means that what it says is when the work required to provide a service is substantially greater than typically required. So like I had said last time, that one is when, let's say you have a tube, let's say a patient's getting their tubes tied, and for some reason it's taking a lot longer than the typical time. You have to provide the detail as to why that service is taking way longer than it should have. So sometimes it could be that the patient was losing a lot of blood during the procedure, or maybe their blood pressure dropped, so they had to stop with the procedure and tend to that, and then maybe half an hour later went back to doing the procedure. Something like that. That would be 22. So just a procedure that takes it's always the same amount of time. For some reason, maybe it elongated the time. That's when we would use 22. 23, unusual anesthesia. So that's occasionally a procedure which usually requires either no anesthesia or local anesthesia. So I have gone over this one with you guys as well. So basically, like I said, like a skin tag removal, sometimes we could just do it without any anesthesia. Or also like if you go into OB, there's colposcopies. They go into your cervix and get a sample of your cervix. So those usually don't require anesthesia or for you to get local anesthesia, but some patients are a lot more sensitive, so that's when we would give some anesthesia, and we would put that modifier 23 to that procedure, because it usually doesn't require it because it's not that painful, but some patients are a lot sensitive, so we have to use it. So 24 says, unrelated evaluation and managed service by the same physician or other qualified healthcare professional during a post-operative period. So I've gone over this one before. It says the physician or other qualified healthcare professional may need to indicate that an E&M service was performed during a post-operative period for a reason unrelated to the original procedure. So that means basically you go in, you get your procedure done, and you always have a time period. You have to go back to see your doctor. So they might say 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So let's say you go back within that time, but it's not for the procedure that you got done. Let's say if it was for maybe another problem, like maybe your leg hurt or something like that, then we would use this one because it's a different reason other than that post-op visit. So 25, it says significant, separately identifiable evaluation and management service by the same physician or other qualified healthcare professional on the same day of the procedure. So that means that the day of their procedure or their surgery, they got they went and seen the doctor. It could be the same doctor or another doctor, but for a whole different reason. That's just what it means. We usually don't use these, but I mean, they're there for a reason because it's happened. So 26 says professional component. So the reason is certain procedures are a combination of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. What it means by other qualified healthcare professional, when you guys read this, it just means it could be a physician assistant, a family nurse practitioner. That all counts as a provider. Okay. So certain procedures are a combination of a doctor or PA or FMP. When the physician or PA or FMP professional is reported separately. So the service may be identified by adding modifier 26 to the procedure number. So again, just read through. It just says basically that your procedure or whatever you had done was done by a doctor or another PA, like they just work together basically. 32 is mandated services. So it says services related to mandated consultation or related services may be identified by adding modifier 32 to the basic procedure. So it says that there's a third-party payer, governmental, legislative, or regulatory requirement. So it just means that they got seen and it was mandated, like they had to be seen. That's just what 32 is. 33 is preventive service. So when the primary purpose of the service is the delivery of an evidence-based service in accordance with a U.S. Preventive Service Task Force A or B rating in the effect and other preventive services identified in preventive services mandated. The service may be identified by adding 33 to the procedure. So a preventive service, I don't know if you guys have gone to the doctor, but sometimes you go in for a preventive visit. That means like a physical, just a regular checkup, or you go in for your shots to make sure you're kept up on your shots or something like that. That's just what a preventive service is. 47, it says anesthesia by surgeon. So regional or general anesthesia provided by the surgeon may be reported by adding modifier 47 to the basic service. So remember, read your notes. It says modifier 47 would not be used as a modifier for the anesthesia procedures. So we wouldn't bill the anesthesia with 47. That's basically what the note says. 47, like I said, there is anesthesiologists, so that's all they do all day is give the anesthesia. This just means that the surgeon who was performing the procedure actually did the anesthesia all at the same time. That means they did it together. 50 is a bilateral procedure. You'll see it's green. It's unless otherwise identified in the listings, bilateral procedures that are performed at the same session should be identified by adding modifier 50 to the appropriate 5-digit code, your CPTs are 5 digits, just so you don't get confused. So the note says this modifier should not be appended to designated add-on codes. So that just means there's a bilateral procedure, means it was done, bilateral procedures that are performed at the same session. That means there was more than one problem area. So that means it's a bilateral procedure. Bi means two. Okay. 51 is multiple procedures. So it says when multiple procedures other than evaluation and management services, physical medicine and rehab services, or provision of supplies, example, vaccines, are performed at the same session by the same individual, the primary procedure or service may be reported as listed. The additional procedures or services may be identified by appending modifier 51 to the additional procedure or service coded. Note, the modifier should not be appended to designated add-on code. So that just means that multiple procedures or things were done in that visit. So it could have been like there's a new hire physical, right? So they come in for their regular checkup, but they also have to get, obviously, their physical. They get everything checked, so they have to get all their vaccines done. They might get their hepatitis, their flu. They might be missing an injection. So that's multiple procedures done in that visit. That's what it means. And then we get to the ones after we pass this first page, after we pass 51, we get to 52 and so on, all the way up to 99. Sorry, let me sneeze. Sorry. After we finish that, these aren't very at all used. They're just ones that are put in there because, like I say, things happen, but they're not very used at all. But I'll go through some of them that are kind of. So 52 is reduced service, so that just means that the